Hey, my name is Laurin Floyd Turner, and this is Lyric in Motion. Welcome to Lyric in Motion. Have I got another treat for you today? I'm so excited that my friend and this great artist, Nathan Belt, is going to be talking with me. How are you doing, Nathan?
I'm good. I'm
Good.
great. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Awesome.
I think first we just want to hear a little bit about you.
About me?
Yeah, like I know you're a Texas guy.
What do you want to know? Yeah, Texas.
Texas kind of have come to Tennessee, and maybe just give us a little background on where you grew up and how
Yeah.
music started for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Texas, I'm originally from East Texas.
Okay.
And grew up there in a family that loved music and always had music happening and family events and get-togethers. And so my grandmother played guitar and piano and sang. My uncles all played guitar and sang. My dad did it as a hobby. So it was always there at the house. And so we'd have family get-togethers and everyone would sit in a circle and sing songs like Lonesome 77203 or Pick Me Up on Your Way Down and, you know, good old classic country songs. That's where I first heard Merle Haggard was from my uncle, Troop. He would sing Haggard songs. He would sing Mama Tried and Sing Me Back Home. And I heard him singing those before I heard Merle. But it wasn't until later we moved to McKinney, Texas in 91. And my dad bought a guitar in about 93 for me. And that's when it took off. At some point, for some reason, I became infatuated with music, mostly because of the 90s country with Garth Brooks and Tracy Lawrence and George Strait and those guys. And I learned guitar. And that following year, in 94, I started playing the Opry circuit around Texas. In Texas, every small town has an Opry. So every weekend from the age of 14 on till I graduated, till even past then in my 20s, I was playing the Opry circuit across Texas. And that's basically how it all got started.
Did you find that was just kind of like, were you just singing and playing then? And just,
Well,
you went, I have to do this the rest of my life?
I honestly don't know. I mean, you know what? In 91, when we were moving, the day that we were loading the U-Haul, it was in December. It was when Garth Brooks' very first concert aired on TV.
Okay.
The one where he's wearing the blue and black Mo Betta shirt with the white piping, and he busts his guitar with Ty England and all that stuff. So that made an incredible impression on me. I was seeing that, and I was thinking, wow, that would be so cool to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't long after that, like I said, 93 when he got the guitar, but I already had a fascination with that music, a love for that music. But I still, to this day, I was just thinking about this not too long ago. I have no idea what prodded me to just randomly sign up for a talent show in middle school.
Okay.
This was middle school, and they had a talent show, and I just decided I'm going to do it. And, you know, I'd been in my room playing the guitar and singing. My parents didn't even know I could sing or had any talent whatsoever. So I signed up for this talent show, and I went home, and I waited a while before I even told anybody. And I had to tell somebody because I had to get the karaoke tapes to sing with. So I had to tell them I signed up for this talent show, and my dad was scared to death. I think he was so nervous, and he told me, he said, "Now look, son, kids can be really cruel." they were expecting the worst, you know. And no, we went to a music store. We got the tracks, Garth Brooks songs, of course, and then I did the talent show, and I sang "If Tomorrow Never Comes" and "The Dance," and then the teacher. My teacher at that time, she rewrote the words to Friends in Low Places to make it relate to school.
Okay.
And so I sang that. But it was funny because my parents' reaction was, wow, he can actually sing.
That's what I was going to ask you. I want to know what your parents' reaction was.
They
'Cause
were
you're like,
they were shocked.
They're making it like, oh gosh, if he doesn't if
No,
he doesn't know how to sing, what do we
they
say?
were genuinely surprised and shocked. They had no idea that I could sing or
Wow.
anything, and that's where after that immediately kind of took off. I don't know if you remember the Colgate as the country countdown, the Colgate contest. I don't remember the official title of it, but they were having that, or was it Jimmy Dean True Value at that time? Anyway,
I don't
they
know.
were
There've been
having that
several
in Ashdown Jamboree in Ashdown, Arkansas, at Opry,
Okay.
and so my sister and my sister is 10 years older. She grew up singing in madrigals and school and all that, and choir, and she decided she would sing too.
Okay.
So we both entered this contest, and she actually placed. I think she got second place. She got on up there. I placed in the top 10, didn't make it all the way, but it was a great experience. And that's when we learned about the Opry circuit across Texas and how that's a thing. So we immediately started performing. There was Oaklawn Opry in Texarkana. There was even McKinney. McKinney had a little tiny Opry where we lived. The funny thing about that, though, is it was just so tiny and amateur and small, and get on stage, and I'm 14, 15, and none of the other musicians and nobody, I think not a single one of them were actually playing the same song at the same time, but it was great though. It was fun. It was great, training ground, learning experience.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, Texas really had a lot of those places where everybody could train and get their feet wet performing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing, what, in Grapevine Opry?
Grapevine Opry is one, 97 when I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
And the guy that ran it, Rocky Gribble, his wife Brenda worked at the building where my parents worked.
Yeah.
And every day after school I would sit in the lounge area, I guess you would call it, and, where I'd watch TV and just wait for them to get off work so we can go home. And Brenda would be sitting in there, and somehow she found out that I sing, and so she told my parents about Grapevine. We found out about that, and we auditioned. But it wasn't until later, I was 17 when I finally sang on the Grapevine Opry, and that became my home Opry. The two biggest Opries in Texas during that time were Grapevine Opry and the Johnny High Country Music
Johnny
Review.
High. I knew of Johnny High, too.
Yeah. So
I
Johnny
sure
was
did.
in Arlington. And that's where
Yes.
Leanne Rhymes was.
Yes.
And when I first performed there, Leanne was still there, and Steve Holy
Yes.
as well. And so I got to befriend them a little bit. Mostly, I knew Steve more so than I knew Leanne.
Yeah.
I don't know if she'd even remember me now, but she was still just a kid, and I mean we both were. But it was a good time singing on the Johnny High Country
Johnny
Music.
High Country.
Yeah,
Yes,
review
I
and-
met Johnny High. And
Did you? Okay.
yeah, and Wanda, I think, was his wife. Yeah. So those are, again, just great training grounds and
Yeah.
really getting a chance to sing. with
The
some
difference
great people.
about his show
Yeah.
is he would pay you.
Oh, there was pay involved. We like
Well,
that.
because all the Opries are volunteer.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but you'd go to Johnny High, and he'd give you a check, like $125.
And you're like,
and at
I
that
like
time as a
this.
kid, I was thinking, wow, this is awesome. I just got a check for singing.
I know.
Yeah.
What brought you to Tennessee? Was it,
Well-
did you have a deal or publishing deal or something?
There were a series of events
Okay.
that eventually got me here.
Any stories you'd like to?
Well, it is kind
tell.
of an entertaining story. I mean, when I first started talking to people in Nashville, there was a guy named Bill Millett, if I remember this all correctly. So at the time, I was working at South Fork Ranch.
Okay.
And so if you don't know what South Fork Ranch is, you'll know what the TV show Dallas is. Dun, 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 dun. So in the opening scene where they're coming in the original series, there'd be the
That
ranch.
big long driveway. Into
Right,
The, yeah.
that's South Fork Ranch.
right.
Okay, so that's in Parker, Texas, and my friend Patrick, who was my best friend in high school, he got me a job there working on the ranch. And eventually I became a singing cowboy because they had private events, and they knew that I could sing and play music and play guitar. I think I'd been working in the maintenance crew with them, and then I started playing music or for them. and they would hire me to be a singing cowboy, and they would bring in groups from Germany and all around the world, from Europe and Australia, Japan, and they'd come in to see South Fort Ranch and Dallas in the museum because it's huge over there, really popular. So they'd come over and they would have chuck wagons where in the middle of out in the field they'd have a chuck wagon set up and hay bales, and they'd put all the people on the rides, and they'd ride them out on the wagon into the field, and they'd eat, and while they're in the middle of their meal, Patrick and I would show up on our horses. We'd ride out on the horses, and I'd have my guitar with me. And
That's
of course, the cook, the chuck wagon guy, he'd say, "Hold on, who goes there?" And we, made it as authentic as possible. It was real, and made them feel like they're out in the old west.
Yeah.
And I'd get off the horse and I'd walk around with my guitar and sing, "I've got spurs that jingle, jingle, jingle." Yeah, and the whole thing. And Home on the Range, every cowboy song that I could come up with and think of, I would play, and that was fun.
Yeah.
But eventually I met a guy named Bill Millett, who I guess was working here in town as a producer. He was working on a project with Hank Thompson.
Okay.
And he started having me perform in a show in Dallas at a place called the Palace. And it was a rockabilly thing. And I was into Sun Records music. Aside from my influences in country, which are mostly Merle Haggard and George Jones and those cats and Conway Twitty, I loved Sun Records music, and I'm a big Elvis fan. Elvis was a huge influence, but Sun Records, Roy Orbison, and Johnny Cash, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and all those cats, those are my heroes. I love all those cats. And so he was doing this rockabilly show, and asked me to be involved, and so I got into it. So I would leave. I'd do the stinking cowboy routine, and my parents would be waiting in the parking lot for me, and I'd go out and I'd jump in the car, and they'd start driving. And while they're driving to downtown Dallas, I would change clothes in the back seat, get out of my cowboy
singing
outfit.
Okay.
Well, we had chaps, and we were wearing the whole 9 yards. I'd get out of that outfit, and then I'd put on my slacks and my 50s shirt, and my whole rockabilly look. And I'd get there, and I'd wet my hair and slick my hair back, and we'd do the show. I'd do some rockabilly music there, and that's when Billy Burnett came in.
Okay.
And if you know Billy, he's the Billy in rockabilly.
Right.
And so when I first met him, he was impressed with what he saw and heard, and started talking to my parents and decided, hey, I want to work with this kid. And I was 19 at the time, so we went in and we cut a 5-song demo, 5 tracks, 4 songs that he wrote, and then I cut Are You Lonesome Tonight. I recorded that, and he took that to Nashville and played it for people. And eventually he came around to Jenny Johnson Walker, and she was working at Hamstein at the time, if you remember Hamstein Music and Publishing. And of course they're based out of Dallas, where Bill Ham was ZZ Top's management.
Okay. Yeah.
So they saw me, and they flew to Dallas to come see me at the Grapevine Opry.
Okay.
And they saw me perform there, and they offered me a deal. Now, they offered me an artist deal with Hamstein Music, and we got an attorney, and I drove down to Austin to meet Bill Ham, and that was an experience. They put us up in a really nice hotel there. I can't think of the name of it. I always forget the name of it, but there's a really well-known hotel in downtown Austin that's haunted, and
I've heard of that.
I can't think of the name of it.
Think of the name of it.
Anyway, we stayed there, met Bill Ham, going to his office, and it's like his desk is like way up here, and you're tiny, looking at him. Yes sir. He's super nice. He was so kind to me, and so happy to meet me and everything, and just made me feel really welcome. And after that, we negotiated. My attorney told my parents, look, this is just not a good contract. It's not a good deal, and I don't want you to get stuck in something that you'll regret. So my parents decided that, well, we're not going to do it.
Okay.
And I was 19. I could have signed it if I'd wanted to, but I was taking their advice and taking the attorney's advice and decided,
How do you feel about that? I mean, do you look back on that and go, it probably wasn't a good deal, or
It,
I think,
my dad regrets it now. He says that
okay,
he regrets it.
gotcha.
They both wish that we'd gone ahead and signed it at that point.
Yeah.
But there was time in between there where I continued working and saved up my money. And by the time I was 21, Jenny called me, and she had married Billy Joe Walker Jr., Billy Joe Walker
Okay.
Jr. And they had just got married, and I guess she told him about me or something, but they called me and they said, we want to work with you. We're still interested in signing you. And I'm no longer with Hamstein. She went with Warner Chappell, and they had a branch called Marathon Key. So they offered me a contract, and we negotiated that one, and it finally worked out. So at 21, I moved here to Nashville late July, early August, and right before 9/11. Got a job.
Right.
I got a job at the Cooker on West End.
Oh, I remember the Cooker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Great
That
restaurant.
was where everybody, everybody went
It
to
was
eat
apparently
there,
a
right?
lot. Yeah, Garth. It was Garth's favorite
Yeah.
restaurant. I found out later,
Right.
and got to meet him while I was there.
Oh, cool.
Um, But yeah, I started working at the Cooker, and then just 9/11 happened, and the world changed, and
So,
here we
you're
are.
getting into Nashville,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, dare we say, COVID.
Yeah,
that just-
yeah,
everything stopped.
yeah.
But yeah, even 9/11, that was a big, time too. So with all those kind of things, when we think about all the little hiccups that happen, especially in entertainment and all our music careers, I mean, what did you do to kind of keep going? Because I think the key word is that you just keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And something always kind of keeps following you, or it just kind of,
Well, I got to be
happens,
honest.
but-
At that time in my life, I was a lot more aloof and naive and just carefree, and
Yeah.
I was just doing it, man. I was having fun and
Having
living
fun.
life.
Yeah.
I look back on it, and I honestly do have some regrets when I think about it. I wish that I'd taken it more seriously,
Okay.
because I was more concerned about making friends and just figuring out how to live and
Yeah.
be here. I had a gig at Tootsie's for a minute, had worked downtown, but was working different odd jobs and things. But I had the publishing deal. I finally eventually signed with Acuff Rose
Oh, yeah. Okay.
and had a publishing deal with them for 2.5, about 3 years. Excuse me. And that was great. Talk about training ground. That was the
Yeah.
best experience I'd ever had.
Was it because just having to write so much, or
Well,
what made it?
writing, but also the people I was surrounded by, the writers that
Mm.
Jenny was connecting me with. Jenny and Acuff both were connecting me with these great songwriters. Michael Heaney was one, AJ Masters, who's no longer with us, Rich Alves, Troy Seals, great songwriter.
Yeah.
He's also passed now. A lot of these guys I was writing with back then have passed on, but just legendary songwriters. John Scott Sherrill I was writing with,
Yeah.
Dennis Robbins. And these guys, they were all older, and so going into it, they were all more of mentors to me. I'd sit down with Jim McBride was one.
Yeah.
Jim McBride was great. And it's funny, the song that we wrote, it sounds like an Alan Jackson song.
Yeah.
Which is, I always thought is really funny. But it was a great experience sitting down and learning from them. And of course, early 2000s was kind of an awkward period for country music,
Yeah.
because we were coming out of the heyday of the 90s, and Napster had just reared its head, and people were trying to understand how to adapt to that, how to adjust, and
Right.
the legal aspects of it and all these things. Stealing your music and whatnot. And so music was changing. As soon as I got to Nashville and got there, everything started changing. The row started changing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, look at it now.
Well, I was going to say, you bring it all full circle, like to 2025. I mean, I think the bottom line is everything's going to always change and evolve, but good music's good music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Country's stayed in there, as well as, other genres kind of fade in there. But, you know, I think there's still I look back at like the '90s was such a booming time
Yeah.
for some great country
It
music,
was
and it's
amazing
you know,
country music in the 90s.
yeah, it is. So bringing you up to like right now, where does that feel like to you? Like how much has changed? Because I mean, you're here today because I think you just got one of the best, gosh, especially country voices.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you have some great songs out there, right?
Thank
So how has it changed for you right now?
Right.
I mean, obviously our industry's changed a lot.
Oh,
with
yeah.
how songwriting is done, how
Well,
you know, everything is technology's changed a lot. Some for really great in great ways, and some are kind of like it's a learning curve. So
no, well, coming in being here in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, you know, it was all about the artist and development.
right,
You could
yeah,
sign an artist development deal, and they would take you under their wing, and they would help you, you know, learn and develop and your style sense and your
Yeah.
song, your writing. You know, there's a formula to songwriting called the Nashville formula, I guess, and a lot of songwriters were using during that time. And nowadays, it's kind of I mean, you've got social media is what's really pushing everything now, and artists and labels are more so finding people who are already established in their own independent
right,
you know, world as far as music goes. Their artists are coming up and creating building their platform, their fan base on their own independently, and then labels come in and say, "Hey, this is great. We'll sign with you and put you out there, help support you." So it's such a different animal, such a different thing, and it's kind of hard to figure out nowadays. Now that I'm older and you know, trying to get back into it, because honestly I'd been out of it for a while. You know, I kind of went on a little different little path there for a minute. But when I came back in 2012,
yeah,
it was a different world because I wasn't working with the industry as much, songwriting world and all that. I went straight into the Broadway scene and the bar scene.
yeah. How did I know that you're still playing around a lot
And
of
I
places?
still do some, yeah.
How is that for you?
Well, again, it's like a whole other aspect of the music business, because they don't really meet. You know, as far as the people that work as songwriters and that are artists and signed and they're working on Music Row, they don't go over to Broadway. They don't. They're
Right.
not playing those gigs on Broadway and doing that stuff.
They're coming
And
in on a Tuesday night when the industry's off the road.
yeah, well,
And everybody's popping in at 11:30, 12, like, hey, I'll
they'll-
do one song. No.
yeah, and they'll play Whiskey
Yeah.
Jam,
Yeah.
or they'll hang
yeah.
out at Losers or one of those places.
Sure.
But they're not doing the
It's
Broadway.
kind of like a
stuff.
separate world.
It's a
isn't it?
separate world, and
Yeah.
so it's been interesting living in this other world in the
Yeah.
Broadway bar scene and seeing how that works. But it's kind of like you're learning, and just another element of it. I mean, I'd been around rowdy crowds in my past,
Yeah.
and I've done everything from, of course, the Opry's and performed for an older audience. Then I moved into more of a theater aspect.
Yes.
You know, with what I was doing on the side there for a while. You know, thank you very much.
Well, I was going to say, I know that you have, I mean, you've done an
And then
Elvis tribute.
I did Elvis for a short
I
period.
mean, you were talking
there.
about Sun Records and
I
how
did.
Elvis really,
Elvis was a big influence.
was an influence for you. And I've seen you do that show, and you do awesome at it.
Thank you.
And, you know, it kind of pulls me back around. I know you're playing around Nashville. I'm sure you
Mm-hmm.
play all over still. I know that you're on the General Jackson Showboat.
And now
because
that's right. Now I'm
I
on
was
the
one
General
of the
Jackson. Yeah.
folks
Right.
who was up there making you dance,
Right.
and do choreography.
As best I could.
You
but-
did great, though. At least you hung in there with me. You were like, "What am I doing? I am a singer. I got my guitar." But I think that's all a part of growing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of like if people, even
Yeah.
if they don't end up dancing
Yeah.
or moving, it still gives you a, I don't know, performance aspect
Yeah.
that's out there. Yeah. Part of lyric in motion
Mm-hmm.
is part of the lyrics coming to life
Oh, right.
through movement. right?
Right.
So I know one of the songs that you wrote, Clean Livin Is Killin Me.
Yeah.
I love it. It really influenced me to do some choreography too. And
Oh, cool.
and so I mean, obviously to me, and I do love country music. I love all kind of music, but
Yeah.
country is truly a love of mine too.
Yeah.
And I decided that Clean Livin Is Killin Me needed some country dancers on it.
And I love that. Yes.
So what I'm going to show you right now
Yeah.
is we just took like a minute of your song, and I used about, I think, 4 dancers, and we created this choreography for you. So I want
Nice.
we're gonna show it to you
Awesome.
right now.
Okay.
And then I want to get your reaction.
Okay. I'm excited.
So here we go.
Oh, wow. This is great already.
Watching those tail lights fading, decided I should do some changing. Made up my mind to turn the
Oh, man, this is
new leaf
awesome.
over. There's been some side effects that I sure didn't expect. Trying to play it straight and go stone cold sober. I ain't drinking these days, so there ain't no way to wash away your memory. Ain't puffing no smoke, all I do is choke
Oh, man,
every
this is so
night on
cool.
what used to be. My heart's never been more broken. I miss my chin and misery. This clean living is killing me.
Oh, yeah. I love it. That's great. That's fantastic.
Oh,
That's so cool.
Well, it was
That's a
so
first.
fun to create. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
That's a first. I've never had anybody do choreography to a song I wrote before. That's awesome.
right.
Very, very cool.
Well, that's
Thank you. Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Well, good. Yeah, I was going to say, when you wrote that song, do you have other writers on the song?
Just Brian, me and Brian, my producer, Brian Simpson.
Okay, so what did the dance evoke any kind of other emotion than maybe when you were writing it?
Oh yeah, no, I loved everything about it. That was that was awesome. Oh no, Clean Livin' Killin' Me came from just a conversation when we started writing that day, and out of he asked me if I wanted a cup of coffee, and I don't drink coffee, and he was shocked. He couldn't believe it. You don't drink coffee, and what else do you not do? And so it's kind of started up that conversation about just different habits and things, and so that's how we came up with the idea for that song, "Clean Livin' Is Killin' Me."
I love
but
that.
Yeah.
I mean, every song obviously has a story.
Yes.
And and as choreographers, you get your own vision when you hear something.
Right.
And usually you don't know
Yeah.
what the writer had in mind. You can listen
Exactly.
to the lyrics, but we all think of things differently,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's why, especially in lyric emotion, it's so fun
Yeah.
to take the artist song and then see how it's,
Oh yeah.
choreographed.
Yeah.
What was fun for me, I do want to mention the dancers in this.
Yes.
I had 4 dancers, Taryn, Christopher, Brighton, Wright. We had Madison, Finley, Harvey. And then we had Britton Bath, I believe is his last name. They did such a great job. And then I did one extra thing for you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because country dances
Yeah.
have line dances.
Yes, they
do.
do.
And not everybody's going to be twirling and doing their pirouettes, as you know.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
double pirouettes for
It
you
looked
dancers
good,
out
though.
there, you turns. So I created a line dance. So
Okay.
I created a simpler line dance. So because you play this out,
Yeah.
and so
I
when we
do.
all come to the club to see Nathan,
Yes.
we are going to be doing his Clean Living Is Killing Me.
Sweet.
line
All
dance.
right.
I'm going to have you show just a little bit.
Oh,
but,
please. Yeah.
I do, yeah. Let him see a little bit of that.
Okay.
Those tail lights fading,
Yeah.
decided I should do some changing. Made up my mind.
Yeah.
Can't you see everybody out
Oh,
there?
yes. I want to go to the Nashville Palace.
I was going to
Everybody-
say, we
Some
will have
side
to do that.
effects
Yeah.
I sure didn't expect.
Yeah, baby. I like it.
Yeah. So it'll be a four-wall dance, as they
Okay.
call it, line dance. And the next time, when folks see Nathan out, just know that it's got a line dance to it.
You're going to have to teach it to me now.
Yeah, my great friend Tiffany Molyneux, she actually she's teaching it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to add it to this podcast so everybody will know where to go to learn it.
Oh, fantastic.
And yeah.
Fantastic.
So you also got a line dance.
I can't wait to
it.
share this because I want to see people line dancing.
That's
at the
right.
show.
That's right.
So you got to come out June 7th. We'll be at back at Music City Bar and Grill, and it's going to be the day after my next single comes out.
Okay, so that leads me into all
Okay.
the music you're doing now,
Yes.
and you are releasing new music. So tell us about that.
Well, we've got Clean Livin' was the first one that I released last year.
Okay.
Followed it with another song called I Can't Stand No More, which is kind of a more comical, kind of song.
Okay.
And, leaning hard on the bottle because I can't stand no more.
I love that
yeah.
hook. That's really good. That's really good.
It was actually the other way around when I first thought of it, and then I went to Brian and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And he loved it, and said, "What if we flip it?" And it worked out. But my next single comes out June 6th, and it's the first ballad I'll be releasing, and it's the first song I'll be putting out that I didn't write.
Okay.
So Brian wrote this song. Brian Simpson wrote it with Ashley Gorley,
Okay.
and oh man, I'm going blank. I'm trying to think of the other writer, and I'm going blank.
It's all right. We'll credit it. Sometimes we just think too fast.
I can't think of the name. But three guys wrote this one. It's a great song. When he played it for me, I had been out of a relationship for a while, and it's one of those where it's kind of taken me a while to get kind of past.
I get it. Yeah.
And so when I heard this song, I had just recently been on a date and went and had dinner with someone, and I was feeling the exact same way that the lyrics of the song are talking about, and I shared that emotion. So it was quite literally that same week when he played the song for me, and he said, "Hey, do you want to record this? Would you be interested in this?" And then he said George Strait had it on hold, but he passed on it.
You're like, grab
And
it.
I was like, yes, I was like, that's mine. I'm
Grab
doing it.
that song.
Well, too bad for George Strait.
Right.
No, I'm excited and thrilled to have recorded it, and I love it. I absolutely love this song, and I instantly related to it, and I feel like that's why I could put so much of myself, my own emotion into it. So I'm really thrilled about that one that's coming out. I Had My Heart on Something Else is the name of it.
I love that. I mean, obviously, I think we all have our own things that we can write, but there's so many other great writers too. All the time, you
There
can
are.
just constantly find, and it always comes at that moment that you need it. Like you said, maybe you were going through a weird time, and
Yeah.
you were going through a breakup or whatever, and it's like that one song might not have resonated with you
Right.
even a year before.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what I love about music. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that everybody knows where to find you.
Oh, sure.
And what you also have, it's Nathan Belt, but you also had Nathan Belt and the Buckles.
I do, yeah. A band
love
called the
that
Buckles.
name.
Well,
Yeah, the
so
Buckles.
when we started playing, and we formed late 2013, early
Yeah.
2014, and that's when we came up with the name the Buckles.
That's right.
And we were doing kind of it wasn't necessarily just straight up country. It was more of kind of a 1960s kind of vibe to it, where we were mixing country with rock and roll and kind of a R&B flavor to it.
Yeah.
And so we would play Mama Tried and those songs, or One Woman Man, and then we turn around and play Pretty Woman
Right.
or Suspicious Minds. And,
Okay.
and then we go back to Dwight Yoakam and play some Dwight or George Strait. But so we were kind of doing a mix of everything, and it kind of became its own animal, its own little thing. It's kind of a retro thing. We were wearing suits and ties and such.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I think 2018, it started kind of right before the pandemic. I had a major surgery, and everything
Okay.
started slowing down
Oh.
after that point.
Gotcha.
And then the pandemic hit, and that's when it didn't. I'm not going to say it fell apart. It's still there. We still play gigs, and we still exist. We just slowed down and put it
kind
on
of morphs into something else
hold
sometimes.
for a while.
Yeah.
Well, that, and when I came back to Nashville in 2021 after the pandemic, I made a decision that I wanted to focus on myself as a songwriter and as an artist.
Gotcha.
And that's where I've been living, these past few years. And Brian Simpson came along, and we reconnected, and he'd really started pushing that as well.
Awesome.
And so that's how I find myself today, just trying to, because my roots, I decided my roots are country, and they always will be. I mean, like I said, I heard my uncle singing Mama Tried and those songs before I heard Merle singing it.
Yes.
And so that's where my heart felt like I had to go back to being myself and just I want to be as authentic as I possibly can and just be myself. And I feel I've much more comfortable, much happier, more fulfilled doing that. And that's where I'm at today. So
I love that, Nathan. I love it because it is all about authenticity.
Yeah.
If you can't be true with yourself, how can you pursue the things you really love too, and just be really in that space for real?
Yeah.
So.
And I love to dig
love to
into
hear
a
that.
hardcore country song. That's my favorite thing as far as singing goes. I love to really, dig into the twang of country.
Yes.
And that's where my heart is.
You do it well, my friend. You do. I know that you're playing around town. I know you have a website. Is
Yes.
it nathanbelt.com?
Yeah,
Okay.
nathanbelt.com.
Nathanbelt.com. And, of course, you can find you on Instagram and
On Instagram,
Facebook.
YouTube. I've got to start, one of the things I'm working on is getting some more video content coming, so...
Well, you're writing music. It's hard to get all the things going at the same time.
it is. It's a chore. It
I
really.
know,
There's so
I
many
know.
things you got to do nowadays, and it's
I know.
golly,
You
keeping
just
up
keep
with.
doing what you do.
I'm trying.
And so we'll make sure that everybody knows where to find you. You said your
Please,
release
yeah.
is on June 7th?
June 6th.
6th.
June 6th.
June 6th, you
Friday,
guys.
June 6th.
And where's it at again?
On Spotify and Apple Music, all
Okay.
the streaming platforms, anywhere, YouTube, anywhere you stream music, you'll be able to listen to it.
That's awesome. And I know that you are on the General Jackson. You're on the day boat.
Yeah, on the day boat.
And you can catch him there. He does a great job there, too.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, we just did it today.
I know. Thank you for coming in after you did shows. all
Yeah.
day.
Oh, yeah. We had a good one today.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. As we kind of wrap up, I've just decided that lyric and motion is all about the lyrics coming to life, and there's
Yes.
motion and there's movement. So I'm just saying, when you're performing and stuff, is there one move that is your go-to move?
A go-to move for me, it all comes down to the left leg and moving my left leg for some reason. I shake
kind of
my,
like a little.
it's got a little Elvis in there, a little
Can
Elvis
you show
influence.
what
so-
you're like? Just
Well,
kind of.
I guess-
Show
I
me a
mean-
little bit of a. Oh yeah, love it. Just show us a little bit there.
I mean, I just naturally shake my, kind of shake my leg and move my leg. I'm always doing this kind of thing.
I love it. There you have it, folks.
There you go.
We've got Nathan Belt's move for the day.
That's my move for the day.
And we're going to be doing that. We're
You
gonna
call
go
it the
see you.
twisty leg.
We're going. Nathan Belt's twisty leg.
The twisty leg.
Stay tuned.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I had so
Thank
much
you,
fun talking with you.
I
I'm a
had
big
fun, too.
fan. And I know that our audience out there is going to be looking you up, and they're going to be doing your dance, Clean Livin'
I
Is
hope
Killin'
so.
Me.
I want to see it. Y'all got to come to Nashville Palace or Music City Bar and Grill. Do
Yeah.
some line dancing for
Yeah.
me. I want to see you line dance.
All right. All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
Nathan.
you. Thank you, La. Love you.
All right.
Watching those tail lights fading, decided I should do some changing. Made up my mind to turn a new leaf over. There's been some side effects